All right, in this video, we're going to talk about some concrete approaches to working on your sight reading and your interpretation of lead sheets. So this is my follow-up video to part one, where we talked about some abstract ways to work on it and some anecdotes that I gave about why it is so important to be able to do both things. So just a quick disclaimer about this video and a couple of other videos that I'm going to also record today, but that will subsequently be published weeks later. I'm currently traveling. I'm at the Midwest Band and Orchestra Conference in Chicago, Illinois. And so I am actually more than 1,000 miles away from home. And so I don't have access to all my stuff, but I do have my laptop. And so I just realized, you know what, I can just record this here, and it will be great, because I don't need access to a piano or anything. I can just, record it like this. So let me know down in the comments how this has positively or negatively affected your engagement in my videos. Anyway, so to start, let's talk about ways to work on your sight reading. So I've seen a lot of YouTube videos about how to improve your sight reading, and a lot of them say, well, you have to do this specific thing, you have to read this specific thing, and then you have to read this specific thing. I think that could help. I'm not sort of saying that's wrong. I'm saying that could help. But what I'm also saying is that anything that you can get your hands on to read is good reading practice. It doesn't matter what it is. Anything that is at or below your skill level, preferably way below your skill level, is going to be good reading practice. And so I had a teacher a long time ago who would say, we would work on sight reading for my lessons, and he would say, I would come in and I'd be like, oh, I just read this, one thing. And he's like, anything that you can read. And I think I was thinking that there was a right and a wrong way to do it, but he was like, no, anything that you can read. And now I totally believe that, because I trusted him eventually and was like, okay, here's one line of a melody. I mean, it got down to that, here's one line of a melody and read this one line of a melody. Anything is good practice. So there's not really a right and a wrong way to do it, as long as it's, at or below your skill level, is really important. Now, the other thing to do is to practice every single day. Every single day practicing. If you miss too many days, that skill you will get worse, because you're not practicing. There was a period of about a year where I didn't practice reading, and I lost it. Like, I couldn't. I really struggled, because I wasn't practicing. I lost that skill, and then I had to rebuild it all over again. So don't be like me a few years ago who didn't practice reading for like a year. That was a bad idea. I don't even really know why I did that. It was a bad idea. So practice every day, anything that you can read. Now, what are some things that you can read? It depends on your skill level. Take something out of a method book, or a very easy classical piano piece or trumpet piece, or whatever your main instrument is, and something that you can confidently say, I can play this without any mistakes, at least when you're practicing. If you're on a gig, that's a different story, but I can play this with no mistakes when I'm practicing. That is super, super important. So make sure that you pick appropriate material. Some good starting places, I think, are four-part hymns. There's a great book that I may have mentioned in the last video, actually, called 50 Hymn Tunes Without Words for Sight Reading. And it is an excellent book, because on one page is the hymn with just two voices, and you flip the page, and then there are all four voices. So it's really, really cool book that I would highly recommend as a starting place. Now, if even that is too complicated, you can just read one line from that hymn. Most of the ones at the beginning are just quarter and half notes. So it's super, super easy. You can make it super, super easy, or you can make it harder by reading all four voices if that's where you are. But that's an excellent starting place. Other excellent starting places, like beginner big band charts, for jazz bands, are excellent resources. I have used those as resources in the past. and they are really, really good. So if your school has some extra charts, you can make photocopies of them, and just have, 10 or 20 charts that, sort of at your disposal to be able to practice with. Super simple middle school charts, even elementary school charts are really, really good practice. Again, stuff that's way below your skill level. And again, there's really no prescribed way to do it. It is your own process. When you are comfortable, and this is the thing that I always say in my videos that is probably getting repetitive at this point, but when you are comfortable, move on. When you are comfortable, move on. There is no prescribed way to do it. It has to be your own process. You're in control of your own process. Or maybe your teacher is in control of your own process, but still, that has to be your own initiative that you're taking to get that practice up. So now let's talk about lead sheets. Lead sheets are a totally different thing. They're sort of the opposite because you have very little information. So what do? My first step is to understand basic chords. If I told you to play a C7 with a flat 9, could you do it right there? That is what you have to be able to do. And so, it doesn't have to be super complicated. It could be play me an F major, play me a D minor, play me a flat diminished, anything like that. Very basic chords. Can you accurately do that really, really quickly is super important. Now, once you did that, there are two different ways that you could go. You could play chords in your left hand and the associated scales. So if you played a C major chord in your left hand, root third, fifth, play a C major scale in your right hand. If you played a C7, root third, fifth, flat 7 in your left hand, play a C Mixolydian scale. Whatever the associated scales are, that also teaches you and gets you in an excellent position to start improvising, if that's what you're learning to do as well. Get into jazz improvisation, you have to know those scales. That's also good practice that can combine with a lot of different things to be really good practice for improvisation. The other thing that you could do is just play bass notes in your left hand and chords in your right hand. So C in the bass, C major, F in the bass, F major in your right hand. So it depends, obviously, where your skill level is. If you have been playing for 20 years and you are a really good reader and you know some jazz chords, some more embellishments, some other things, then go ahead and jump right to those. But if you are not, then start really, really basic. Read lead sheets that are below your skill level. I mean, it's the same thing. Take, I don't know, Autumn Leaves, or even CJM Blues, or some very, very easy jazz tune, or a rock tune. I have a book back home of the complete Paul Simon, which is actually good sight reading and lead sheet practice because it has the chords and the full piano part. So if you want to practice with practice sight reading, then you read the piano part. And if you want to practice reading lead sheets, then you read the chords. It's an excellent book. I can't remember where I've got it. I've had it for years and years and years. The complete Paul Simon is the name of that book. And I'm sure there are other ones for like Elton John or, and any of those other artists. Really great resources because a lot of those, are already written out and have the chords. So it's super easy to have both those things. So that's really great. Now, when you are comfortable, then you can start adding embellishments, but really only when you can quickly play stuff that you're unfamiliar with. And I don't know, it doesn't have to be something that you practice like for an hour a day. And the same thing goes with sight reading. It doesn't have to be an hour a day. In fact, it's fine if it's not an hour a day. It's good if it's not an hour a day, because what matters is that you're practicing every single day. You can practice for 5 minutes a day. It doesn't matter. If you do it every single day and you turn it into a habit, then it's like, it just becomes like an automatic thing. Oh, I'm practicing my sight reading. There we go. Now I'm done with it. Do it at the beginning of your practice session if it's something that it feels like you have to get it over with. Do it at the beginning. I always typically do it at the end, which is probably not the best idea, but that's sort of how I've done it for so long, and that's how I do it. But you know, I have no way of knowing what your own practice habits are. But it could be whenever you want in your practice session, whenever you want in the day. But just as long as it's every day, and you're like, oh yeah, time to do sight reading. You know, it can be that kind of thing, which is how it is for me still. And so it's just super, super important. If you don't practice every day, you will not get better. You just won't get better. If you don't practice every day, and there are periods where you don't practice, that you will get worse. I mean, I'm totally honest with you. You will get worse. That skill will go away because you're not practicing. So practice, 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 practice. Really, really, really get on it and work on that. So that concludes this video, and I hope this video sort of provided some more concrete steps in terms of some directions that you can go. If you want any more related videos, please leave your suggestions down in the comments and I will get to them. So that wraps up this video. So please subscribe to this channel. I have new videos now that I've updated my schedule that are coming out less frequently, but they still come out Thursday at 9 a.m. Mountain Time. And so you should watch out for those. They just will be less frequent for a while because I'm super, super busy. But that will be that. And so I hope you enjoyed this video.